Welcome to Talking About Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. If you're here and you don't know what this is, you've clicked on the wrong video because you have like 10 books to read before this, but they're all so worth it. This is the third book of the Dark Artifices trilogy that belongs to the Shadowhunter Chronicles. If you don't know, you want to read Cassandra Clare's books in publication order. They all intertwine together. So I really can't say anything about this without spoiling several other books. So if you haven't read it, please leave so I don't spoil you on all of the amazingness. Come back, discuss. Sound good? So you've read it, right? I can't believe they put this woman on the front cover. I thought we were gonna end up with a good her. No, even though the cover is beautiful. It's so pretty. So let's dive right in with the multiple pages of notes that I have. Only Cassandra Clare could have me crying in not only chapter 1, but also chapter 2. We pick up exactly where we left off in Lord of Shadows. Emma has shattered the mortal sword. Livy is dead. Robert Lightwood is dead. And everything is awful. Helen has returned from her fairy island and she has to get to know her siblings again. None of them really trust her, which is really difficult for Helen because she's the oldest sister. She's supposed to be the one who's there for everyone. This is especially difficult with Drew. Drew is the youngest sister and she is having a really hard time reconnecting. Horace Dearborn and Zara have taken over. They're the worst. Horace is the Inquisitor and Zara is like his evil little messenger. Emma and Julian, as per usual, are having to fight their feels towards each other because they're fighting this parabatai curse. They can't really use their parabatai bond without making things worse. So they can't even give each other erotsies, like to heal themselves, because it only makes everything so much worse. Kit has a close relationship with Ty, and I was very concerned because I wasn't sure if it was romantic because I think Kit wasn't sure if it was romantic. And now I think that's the way we're going with that, but I was very concerned that they were going to become parabatai and Kit wasn't going to realize that he was in love until too late. And we were going to have another Julian and Emma situation, which is already enough to deal with. Ty seems to be dealing with Livy's death kind of well, like strangely well, and that shoots off into a whole different plot point. Julian goes to Magnus to ask to have his emotions taken away. Like, even though he is grieving over his sister, he still has these really strong feelings for Emma. He just literally can't take it anymore. And Magnus agrees. Magnus is so responsible. I just like couldn't believe that he let this happen, first of all. But then I was like, if he didn't let Julian do this, then things could have happened much, much worse. So in the end, we must trust our Mr. Magnus Bane. Livy's funeral was a heartbreaker, if I've ever read one. When Ty starts climbing up her funeral pyre to her dead body that's just in this like white lace, it was aesthetically so strong, first of all. But when he's like climbing up and Julian is climbing after him and Ty takes the necklace off of Livy because he's gonna use it for that spell, and when Zara Dearborn is laughing, I was like, Emma, you go kill her. But she doesn't. Jace and Clary, they're going after Ash, which is Clary's nephew and the demon baby of the Fairy Queen and Sebastian Morgenstern. We thought we were done with this guy, but we're not. All the warlocks are getting very sick, and there's the Blight and Idris, so eventually it's going to take away Shadowhunter's powers. Like, they would just become human, was my understanding, and then all the warlocks were going to die or turn into actual demons. We learned from Jem who shows up. Emma and Jem are like close, and he is telling her that Kit is being hunted. Tessa is pregnant. Oh my god. I was so happy. So Ty has decided to bring Livy back from the dead. A horrible decision, and Kit is going to help. Have we learned nothing from Annabelle? Annabelle is the reason Livy is dead. Shade is there and he kind of communicates with Kit like, you need to stop Ty. Like, as his friend, you need to get to him and make him understand. Horace sends Emma and Julian on a suicide mission to Fairy because he knows their secret, so he can pretty much get them to do whatever he wants. Zara and her minions are at the Scholomance and they take Kieran, who they found hiding there, to the place of reflection. So it's pretty much a pool that if you touch it or look into it, you feel all the pain that you've inflicted on others your entire life, like all at once. They're pretty much trying to kill Kieran by this because he's done a fair amount of unsavory things in his past, as well as the emotional pain he's caused people. One of my favorite characters that I did not remember was in any other Shadowhunter books other than just being mentioned as Helen's wife. Elena's here, and I love her. She's making the food. Like, the kids have really upset Helen because they don't accept her or her cooking. Helene was making them frittatas, and then the kids were like complaining about it. They didn't want that either. And it was just a complete Michael Scott, you will have pancakes and you will like it moment, and that was just, it was great. I love how Aline is just so like, shut up and do what I say. Kit teaches Drew to pick locks, which is a really cute moment because Kit's kind of like, oh, like, I really like having a little sister, like, this is fun. And she also confides that Ty doesn't interact with her in the way she wishes he would. Ty and Livy were so close that Drew always felt kind of like a third wheel, and then now it's Ty and Kit, and she's just kind of jealous of like the close relationship that other people get to have with her older brother. When Emma and Julian are in Fairy and Dane is sent after them, first of all, to kill them, like, it wasn't just already a suicide mission, but assassins are being sent after them. Of course, Dearborn is the absolute worst, but we hear Dane talking to a Kelpie that he's like enslaved. He's pretty much trashing Julian and Emma, and then is talking about how Emma would be hot, like, if she would just shut up. Emma overhears this, and she's like, I will kill him while talking the whole time. Also, like, not to mention that Dane being sent after them is treason. Shadowhunters do not kill other Shadowhunters, but he's trying to pin their deaths on Varys to kind of help with his anti-downworlder platform. But then Julian kills Dane. I guess in the long run is probably what needed to happen, but there are literally no repercussions. And I was like, how does he get away with that? Not that I want him to be imprisoned or anything like that, but that seemed like something we just skimmed over. Kieran, meanwhile, is in the Scholomance. He's been kind of rescued by Diego. He's having to deal with the physical and emotional pain that he's caused people. He's feeling it all. Kieran and Diego kind of have this bonding moment over the fact that they both hurt Christina and they both really regret it. Kieran escapes the Scholomance via Windspear, his horse that flies, and comes to him on command, and Diego gets sent to prison. Oh. So while they're in Fairy, Julian does not tell Emma his plan to go visit the Seelie Queen and just kind of manipulates her along. And the reason he wants to go see her is because she knows how to break the parabatai bond. But the reason he's like tricking Emma, like usually he would at least tell her this type of thing, but it's because he has no emotions. Like he is all bad Julian all the time. Like we know he's manipulative and can kind of be a liar, but he's never like that with Emma, and that's the problem here. Julian has somehow managed to take pictures of all of the pages of the Black Book and have them binded at Office Max. What? Julian asks the Queen to help them find Annabelle because she is also in Fairy. Everyone's in Fairy. On page 185, we find out that the parabatai rune has some sort of darkness to it. It's created by humans. Jonathan Shadowhunter made it, not an angel. So like, it's not a perfect rune. Like there are things that can go wrong with it. If they destroy the original one that's like on the stones in the City of Bones, break that, then all parabatai bonds would be broken. If there's a problem with the parabatai bonds, it seems kind of like not a horrible idea, but then like you think back to the Clockwork trilogy and like how painful it was to read Will and Jem's parabatai bond being broken, and I can't imagine that happening on mass scale all at once. Horace is forcing the Institutes to register their downworlders because he's the worst. On page 222, when they're in Fairy and Julian manipulates Emma into being romantic with him so that she will forgive him for tricking her about going to see the Seelie Queen. And he's only doing that because he needs her to not be angry. I was pissed. And as soon as Emma realized it, she was like, I can't believe you just did that. Gwen tells Diana that he loves her, and it's just fantastic. I love Gwen. Big fan. Mark, Kieran, and Christina are going to be going after Emma and Julian and Fairy, so that means a lot of us are in Fairy, and that's very uncomfortable. Not to mention Jason Clary are already in Fairy, so everyone's in Fairy. The Seelie Queen betrays Emma and Julian, but she's gonna go trade the Black Book for the prisoner that the Unseelie King has, some sort of mysterious captive who turns out to be the evil Sebastian baby. So Julian and Emma have to stop her. Drew sees Jaime again. He had brought the Eternidad for Christina because then they won't age in Fairy and stuff like that. And then there's like this awkward pause of like, Drew, you know Jaime? And then it comes out that Drew had hosted Jaime for a couple days while he was hiding out. Mark gets pissed and tells Jaime, like, I can't believe you, like, she's only 13, why were you staying in her room? Jaime thought she was 16. Drew apparently has a much older look to her, she's more curvy, so like she's coming across older anyway. So any like crush that Jaime felt for her, I think kind of got a little confused because he's like, oh, like she's actually quite a bit younger than me, at least at this point in their lives. Like 13 and 16 feels like a pretty big gap. Everyone's kind of like, good thing Julian doesn't know about this. I could not believe at the council meeting, Horace's use of fear. The fact that the way Dane's family found out that he was dead was that they uncovered him on this table in front of like all of Shadowhunter, and then they bring out Diego and friends with the runes of quietude. Like, you are not supposed to use those. And then they parade out a traumatized Samantha because she looked into the pool that makes you feel all the pain you've inflicted on others, and it's driven her mad. Horace blames the Downworlders for all these things when none of them are Downworlders' faults. Emma and Julian, when they're in Fairy, they pass Prince Oban's revel, and I thought we were getting sucked into that, and I was very concerned. Thank goodness we didn't. Like, usually I feel like whenever we come across one of those, somebody's like, I'll be fine, let's go dance for a little bit, and then it's not fine. And Jaime doesn't confirm that he and Drew are at least like friends. Broke my heart. Like, Drew was just like, nobody takes me seriously, like he doesn't even want to be friends with me because I'm too young. When Drew finally lets Helen comfort her, that was just one of my favorite moments of the whole book, was that relationship really needed mending. Like, Drew realizes like this is not the way it felt when Helen held me when I was really little, but it says like they still fit like sisters, and I was like, oh my soul, like that, it was such a good line. And then Helen tells Drew that like Drew has so much style, like Drew reminds her of their mother because of like the way she chooses to dress herself and the way she holds herself and the way she looks, and I was just like, this is so what Drew needed to hear, and Helen was the only person who could tell her that. LOL. When Mark and Christina decide to like smear mud on Kieran just for funsies, I love their little dynamic. Emma and Julian need to get into the Unseelie Palace to get the Black Book back before she gives it to the Unseelie King. Emma gets caught in those thorns. Emma's like, we'll be fine. And Julian's like, points to a wall full of skeletons. And then she's stuck. The thorns kind of act like a prison. And she's like about to die. And then suddenly the brother of Cortana, because Zara has taken Cortana, which is a whole different thing that got me really angry. But the brother of Cortana, Durandal, appears in Emma's hands and she's able to slice her way out. And like, even though Shadowhunters have like amazing abilities, that is not normal. Like, I feel like that is one of the first things we like get about the curse. Kieran and Mark and Christina get caught, but Christina has the Eternidad, so she escapes, and Kieran and Mark are caught. Christina goes to Adayan, Kieran's older brother. She needs help because pretty much the king is just gonna kill Kieran for this. Annabelle is with Ash, who all must love. Like, there's some sort of spell issue with him that everyone who sees him like feels the need to protect and love this boy. The Unseelie King has him because he sees him as a really good weapon. He can use spells from the Black Book on Ash, who has demon, fairy, and nephilim blood, so that's a really unique combination. Turns out that Oban is in cahoots with Manuel. Fantastic. Let's put the idiot fairy prince into the hands of the cohort and convince him that he can be king. Drew is in on Ty and Kit's plan to pretend that she's Vanessa Ashdown to get like the information that they need. I love the fake registry because they're having to like document their downworlders. Aline and Helen are just like making up fake names. They're like, who will be Elton John? That one over there looks like a Taylor Swift. Emma and Julian end up in jail, and Fairy and Clary and Jace are there. Christina and Adayan come to save our crew. They think that Mark and Kieran are down there. Mark and Kieran are not down there. Horace threatens Diana to tell everyone that she is mundane medicine if she does not back him as the next consul. He wants to take over Gia's job and be both Inquisitor and consul. So Diana cuts off his arm and escapes through the window with Gwyn. What a great moment for this book. When Drew finds the wreckage in Ty's room, that was horrible. Like, she goes in there and she sees like literally like blood. He's been kind of, I think, chewing at his knuckles was one of the things she said that she noticed, and everything's in like all this disarray, and it's just so sad. It is in the Unseelie King's throne room that we get our first glimpse into this alternate world. This is the vision that Clary had of herself dead. It's really eerie when she's like next to Emma and she's like, oh my gosh, like that was my dream, and then we see like her dead body like flipping over in the sand. So a lot of things happen quickly at this point. The Seelie Queen steals Adayan. Kieran kills his father, who then erupts into flames. Christina is trying to gather everyone towards her so they can use the Eternidad to escape, but Emma and Julian are trapped like on the other side of this firewall, and she can't communicate that with Christina, and like she's really about to die. Ethna, one of the writers, is there and is like about to kill her. So to escape, Emma and Julian Julian take kind of like their only option to run through the portal after Annabelle and Ash. On page 382, carrying that sword won't make you Emma Carstairs. A beautiful moment. Zara delivers a very injured, sick, feverish, and going to die Jaime to Diego. Oban is now the new king of Unseelie. Part 2. Fool. Fool is what the world is if Clary had died at the Battle of the Burn, and Sebastian would have won. In this world, it's very interesting because Emma and Julian are not parabatai. And in this world, when they go through the portal, Julian's emotions are back. Oh no. When Emma and Julian see in darkened Emma and Julian making out, ugh. We're in darkened, and what's worse, we are into PDA. So Ash is here. Ash is like a slightly older Ash. I'm not really sure how all that worked. I don't know. I think we're all just very lucky that no one got spit out a fairy 10 years older than they were before. So Livy is alive here. She's a little bit older. She's dating Cameron Ashdown. She's like leading this rebellion. They're just humans now, so they have to use guns, which is not a Shadowhunter thing. Hearing how their family got torn apart was awful. We thought things were bad in our world. Julian offers to have Livy come back with them to their world. It would fill in the hole, kind of their family, but Livy is not the same Livy that she was in the other world, and she's like, you know, I know that, like, technically, like, your world is your reality, and this is just kind of a separate thing, but this is my world. Like, I have work to do here. Livy, I have so much respect for in this world because she has had to become such, like, a resilient leader. When she had to trap Cameron Ashdown pretty much in the City of Bones, she knows she's pretty much sentencing him to death. That was really hard to watch her have to do. Like, that was the one thing she had in that world, and she had to lock him away for the greater good because Sebastian was going to destroy all of their spells and library pretty much, and that was rough. When Julian has his emotions back, that's really important. He hears how much he's hurt Emma, which she pretty much couldn't tell him and he wouldn't sympathize with in the regular world. So, like, it's now hurting him to see, like, what he's done to her. He's able to draw again because his emotions are back. I thought it was really funny that Julian got mad at Livy for drinking. Yeah, stick around here for a day and you'll be drinking too. The warlocks have turned into their demon selves. That was a really rough one to hear about. Magnus turning into a demon, getting Alec to kill him before he was, like, gonna kill other people, and then Alec killed himself out of grief. That was just awful. We find out that Lake Lynn can cure the blight. So I knew we were going to be here for some sort of reason. We were here forever, but we were there to learn that the lake water could destroy the blight, cure the warlocks, and cure the Shadowhunters. We talked to Tessa because Emma has that ring that if she crushes it, Tessa will understand to come talk to her. So we had the idea to get the mortal sword so that Sebastian can't have it and take it back to the other dimension where the mortal sword has been destroyed. Emma and Julian are slightly mistaken for their Endarkened selves for a little bit. They're taken to Sebastian. He's like talking to them. Evil Jace is there, and Ash is there. Annabelle's also here with her demon terrier boyfriend, Malcolm. Ew. Annabelle makes a deal that she will open a portal for Emma and Julian to get back to the regular world if they take Ash with them. She's very concerned that Sebastian is going to kill Ash to take his energy. He doesn't have enough energy to hold up all the Endarkened. Ash is a big power source. Ash has a crush on Drew, and also he has wings. He also doesn't leave with Emma and Julian, so he's staying in this dark realm because he can't bear to leave Dark Jace. Emma and Julian end up leaving the cup with Livy and going back to their realm. One of my favorite things was Mark's donut sandwiches. I would try it, Mark. I thought maybe the letter that Livy gave to Emma to give to Ty might convince Ty he should not be trying to bring Livy back from the dead anymore. Like, I thought it would probably, you know, kind of put a little bit of that, like, horrible feeling he has to rest, but that doesn't seem to quite resonate enough with him because he's like, now I have an object from another world. One of the things I need to raise my sister from the dead. And everybody is talking, and Helen has things to say, and Aline just yells and throws a lamp and says, listen to my wife. Jules, since he's back and he doesn't have his emotions, Ty is trying to, like, tell him things, and Ty's like, I have a plan, blah, 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 blah. Like, all these things, it takes him a lot to open up to people, and Julian is like, that's good, kid. You've gotta be freaking kidding me. The cohort is advertising that Jace and Clary are dead. They were saying they were killed in Fairy by fairies. Emma suggests, like, hey Clary, since we realized that the vision you had was of Thule and you're not dead here, maybe you should propose to Jace. I'm on that train. Another train I'm on is the Christina Mark Kieran thing. Totally for it. They're like, the three of them cannot work without the others. I was like, yes, of course. course, you all need to understand. You three need to figure out how to work with what you have. The lake water is healing Magnus. Finally, there's something good happening in this book. Oh my gosh. Because the water from Lake Lynn kind of makes Magnus drunk, but it's like a hallucinatory thing. Ah, that must be why I can see 7 of you, Alexander, my ultimate fantasy. Horace is planning to broadcast the meeting between himself and the new Unfairy King, Oban. Julian, however, is forming a rebellion using his institute running skills he's built over all these years pretending to be Arthur. Puts together Livy's watch. They're gonna pretty much be broadcasted on this live feed to other Shadowhunters so they can show how horrible Horace is. Magnus takes the emotional binding off of Julian because it just needs to be done, and Julian is not as good of a Shadowhunter without it. And then Magnus tells Emma and Julian they need to avoid each other. So naturally they go make out. Helpful, guys, helpful. I love that we get to spend a lot of time with Jace again. There's just so many good things. He's talking to Kit, and he says, Alec and I are unafraid to express our manly love. Sometimes he carries me around like a swooning damsel. Really? No. Kit says I could slay with my deadly sense of humor and wicked charm. And then Jace is like, now that says Herondale. Christopher, can I call you Christopher? No. Christopher! Zara shows up at the Institute, and Emma beats her in battle. Could kill her. Doesn't. There is a part of her that was almost about to kill her, and I think that was more having to do with the Parabatai curse. She's starting to go crazy from it. When Shade, he snaps at Ty, and that was really rough. And I think Shade did that because he knew that Ty needed to hear that, but he probably went about it in the wrong way. Emma asks Jem about removing marks, and she doesn't really say her marks. Jem is like, no, that is the absolute worst process I've ever seen in my life. It is so painful. I will never do it again. That makes it all the more scary. The War Council, Clary and Jace reveal themselves. They're like, hey, we're alive, actually. And they're kind of prepping for battle, pretty much. And I love the conversation between Diana and Gwyn when they're talking about how Kit should not be fighting because he's too young. Gwyn, he's so funny. We have children in the Wild Hunt as young as 8 years sometimes. Yes, but we've also covered how that's a bad thing, Gwyn. Sometimes I forget all the lessons you teach me. I can't. The curse webbing is starting to show up on Emma and Julian, which is really freaking me out. Part 3, Lady Vengeance. We get a really nice moment between Diana and Julian and Emma where she kind of tells them her whole story. It's a really nice moment between the three of them. They kind of finally understand who Diana is and why she couldn't run the Institute for them and stuff like that. Christina, Mark, and Kieran kind of finally define what their relationship is, and I was really happy but also worried about what is going to happen next. Their circumstances don't seem favorable. First of all, I know that we're in a Cassandra Clare book, so sometimes our favorite characters can get killed off, and then if they don't get killed off, Kieran is probably gonna need to go to Ferry, and then Mark, we find out, is gonna be going to New York, and then Christina needs to be going back to the Mexico Institute. I'm not really sure how this is gonna work out for them very well. Ty is about to raise Livy, and Kit tries to stop him, which obviously really angers Ty. Kit tells Ty that he loves him, but Ty goes through with it anyway, and he's used a corrupted power source. So Livy is raised, but in ghost form, and now they're somehow tied together. So Livy will regularly appear every once in a while, but in ghost form, and only Ty and obviously Kit can see her because Kit can see ghosts. Emma gets this close to destroying the Parabatai rune. She is over it with a sword, and Julian stops her. The only reason Emma did this was because she was literally almost driven insane by the curse, and Julian's a little bit behind her, but that was a close call. Oh my gosh. When it's revealed, when Clary and Jace are alive, that the cohort gets sent to kill them. But nobody wants to kill them because Clary and Jace are huge heroes for the Shadowhunters. So they find them in their tent. And Manuel's kill them, is ordering the cohort. They're sitting there playing tic-tac-toe, and Jace is checkmate. Magnus, meanwhile, has tied Kit and tied to a tree to make sure that they don't go join the battle. Christina kills Oban. So now Kieran is the Unseelie King. Livy helps Ty and Kit escape from their tree. So Ty will now be engaging in the battle via slingshot, and then Kit disappears. Magnus and the Downwaters are here, so he's creating big hazy film over the battle so the vampires can come join. It was such a sweet moment when Gia is so proud of Helen and all the work she's done with the Institute, because Helen finds Gia very, very intimidating, and obviously, like, she's the consul, like, she's this really powerful lady, and, like, she just really wants her acceptance, and it was just a really nice moment to see, like, how much Gia cares about Helen, even separate from the fact that, like, Helen is just married to Aline, her daughter. So the good Shadowhunters don't want to kill the cohort because they're Shadowhunters, so they've made this kind of jail type thing, but it makes the battle even harder because instead of going in for the kill, you're trying to just get someone down to get them into this jail without risking yourself. Emma and Kit get cornered by the writers of Manon, who just happen to hate Emma because she killed one of them, like, last year. They say they want Kit because he is the descendant of the first heir. So pretty much the Unseelie King and the Seelie Queen had a child to unite the courts. The child was a girl, which the Unseelie King didn't like. She had to escape, and now Kit is somehow the heir of that woman. He explodes into gold. Not like explodes. Like, it bursts out of his hands, and they defeat the writers, which is crazy. Annabelle, who we killed a while back, I thought, is, like, a demon takes her form, which was weird to, like, see her again. Zara literally stabs Emma in the back after Emma showed her mercy, and then turns around and stabs Emma in the chest, and I was like, this is not how this ends. Julian runs over to Emma, and he wants to use the Parabatai rune to heal her. Emma's dying. I'm crying at this point because I'm like, you don't come back from being stabbed on both sides. And Emma doesn't want to use the rune because she's like, we're gonna turn into these monsters that kill the people we love if you heal me, like, just let it happen. And that was awful, but then I guess they use it anyways. I was a little muddy on this whole part, but they turn into giant actual nephilim. They become angels, pretty much. Julian picks up Horace and snaps his spine in two, which was, like, satisfying but also disgusting. And they're pretty much acting like avenging angels. They can't access their emotions anymore. When Drew knows what to do, she's like, we have to go talk to them. I believe in Drew. I know she's smart. I just think this is probably still a bad idea. But Helen gathers everyone and they start walking this terrifying march towards Emma and Julian in their giant Nephilim form. Kieran has to go back to Fairy because, like, now that he's the Unseelie King, like, there's some sort of weird tie between him and the Unfairy land, so if he's not there long enough, the lands start to deteriorate. So he has to go back. It was really upsetting. We, like, actually find out about Kit's heritage around this time, why he's had to be hidden for so long. Not that I think Kit should, by any means, be the king of Unseelie, but, like, we have to figure out a way to get Kieran out of this mess. He does not want to be king, and I think Kieran would be a good king. He has a whole problem with that, too. He's like, not only do I not want to be king, I don't think I'd be a good king, and he would be a good king. It's time to pick a new consul, and Jace nominates Alec, which is really great. Alec would be he's such a good choice. And they do their little whisper into the cup, and Alec is technically voted, but cohort won't be having that, and they go full suicide threat. So, like, the cohort, like, all these kids are standing up there with, like, knives to their neck. They're like, leave Alicante or we're going to start killing ourselves. You keep saying you want to save Shadowhunter. Young Shadowhunters are so important, like, prove it and leave. And then someone's like, call their bluff, and then Zara looks at this girl Amelia, just nods, and Amelia kills herself. There are a lot of gruesome moments in these books, and that was one of the hardest I remember reading. And, like, we've been reading these books for, like, a decade, guys. The good Shadowhunters leave Alicante, and so Alicante is going to be sealed off with all these Shadowhunters in it because they don't want to deal with Downworlders, even though their job is to protect mundanes. So, like, the good Shadowhunters are going to be doing their job, and now New York City is going to be our new hub, I think, because, you know, Alec asked Mark to be head of, like, the Downworlder and Shadowhunter Alliance thing because he's going to be the consul, and now Scholomance is going to be in New York, and there's just a lot of things that need to be set up now. We can't just leave Alicante indefinitely because the mirror is there, like Lynn is there. We do have some sort of concession that Mark and Christina and Kieran can all meet at this cottage that's on the edge of, like, Fairy, so, like, they won't age weirdly, and then Kieran will still, like, technically be in his lands, and it won't be a problem. Unless they're regularly able to access portals, I don't see how this is going to work, like, long term. Emma and Julian have woken up without their Parabatai bonds completely fine. Like, how do you are not able to be full of heavenly fire as a regular Shadowhunter and live to tell the tale. Like, Jace was, but that's because he's literally part angel because Valentine messed with his blood. It just seems like they got off pretty easily for having become real Nephilim, and now they can be together, which is great. Like, I'm happy, but also I'm like, this seems convenient, and I feel like it's gonna come back to bite us later. But if this means that Christina and Emma can become pair of a tie, I'm all for it, because I would love to see those two together as pair of a tie. Kit was really hurt by Ty, because after Kit said, like, hey, I love you, like, I'm gonna be here for you, Ty pretty much said, Livy is the only thing I care about. Sweet Tessa is like, we know you'd probably rather live with the Blackthorns, but me and Jem would love to have you in our family with our new baby, and Kit's gonna do that. And then we end with the Malik wedding. The Warlock blue and the Shadowhunter gold. It was just so beautiful. Like, it was such a good ending, even though it's not really an ending. I know this is a trilogy, but obviously there's some more things to do here. Ash is still in Thule. Sebastian is still in Thule. And then in the epilogue, evil Jace and Ash show up in Fairy, and he is giving Ash to the Seelie Queen, which doesn't seem horrible, but I definitely see it going horribly, like, later on. And then evil Jace is like, bring me Clary Fairchild. What? Ugh. 10 out of 10, it was so good. As per usual with her books, they always get better, every single one. Like, writing gets better, the story gets more intricate. They're just so good. What did you think? How do you feel about Kit? I assume that there's like another trilogy that is more in the past, and then there's going to be another trilogy after that, The Last Powers. I am assuming that this is going to be very Kit and Ty based, because I feel like that has the most work left, and then we'll find out like what happens with Clary being brought to Jace. I just don't know how things are gonna turn out, and we have to wait so long. What a mess we found ourselves in, even at the end of this trilogy. Like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you haven't, so we can continue to talk about books. Thanks for watching. My name's Katelyn. Bye!